Hello, so I just wanted to start this video by apologising in advance for the dodgy editing. I stupidly didn't realise that my address was printed on the back of a letter I am holding, so I've had to try and cut that out, so sorry about that in advance, and I will learn for next time to double check before I start filming. Cool, enjoy. Hello, so this is day 20 now with our Pavlik Harness. A little bit going on today. So a couple of nights ago we started to sleep Max in his new sleeping bag, which our friends kindly bought for us. It's from a brand called Slumber Sack, and they're specially designed to fit over the Pavlik Harness, which is great. All the sleeping bags that I'd had from my eldest, even though they were bigger size, didn't really fit comfortably. It always seemed quite tight. So really happy with that, and now he's sleeping nice and cosily in his new sleeping bag in his sleepy head. Something else happened is I finally got round to opening our post from when we were on holiday, and I received the follow-up notes from Max's clinic appointment when he actually got his harness fitted, and then I was just comparing it to his original clinic notes from our first appointment at 5 weeks old, and now I do feel like I've got a few questions to ask when we go to our appointment tomorrow. So these are obviously his clinic notes. So when he was 5 weeks old, it said that he had mildly reduced abduction of 60 degrees bilaterally, and that both his hips were found to be immature, classified as graph 2A. And then it goes on to say that he had mild right plagiocephaly, which I think is like flatness of the head. I do recall her mentioning that when we were there, but nothing else was said about it. I don't actually know if it's got any correlation to DDH or it's just something else that like a physio would pick up. And then it wasn't said again when we went back, when we got our harness fitted, or when I went the other day. So I need to ask about that just to sort of see if there's anything I need to do with it. It also says here he had a negative Ortolani, Barlow and Gilesi sign. I've literally got no idea what that means, so I need to Google that. And then I was looking at his clinic notes from his most recent appointment, and then it goes on to say that his hip abduction reduced to 45 degrees. So I actually didn't know that that had got worse. I thought it was just the ultrasound that got worse. So again, I need to ask about that. But then when we went back a couple of days ago to have his harness refitted, the lady told me it was like 70 degrees. So sort of it's improved from this letter, but then also improved from the original letter. So yeah, I need to check that. But it then goes on to say that he has a severely deficient bony roof with flattened bony rim. And then on the other hip is an adequate bony roof with a rounded bony rim. Again, Mr. Google needs to help me out with what this even means. And now that one is classified as a graph type D, and his left hip is still a 2A, which is what I thought. And then it still says that he had a negative Ortolani, Barlow and Gilesi sign. That really doesn't mean anything. Yeah, so a few questions to ask with that. I'm going to go with these notes in hand so I can, refer directly to it. This is actually what annoys me about the hospital. So, I wasn't really given any of this information when I first went, and then when I went for follow-ups, I was sort of given some information, but sort of none to any detail. But then they send me these clinic notes with all of these, obviously like terms in them, which was meant to be for, I was a CC into this. It was sent to my GP, but still, I'm getting a copy of this and it means absolutely nothing. So, I don't think that's great. funnily, I actually took Max and Freddie to a baby music class today, and one of the other mums there noticed Max in his harness, and she came over and started talking to me, and she told me that she was a physio and that she actually works at Great Ormond Street. So I had a really good conversation with her, and then she was asking me who I was seeing at our hospital, and I told her, and she sort of said actually that physio is actually really great, and she works with her in part at Great Ormond Street. So that does actually make me feel a little bit better, and perhaps we just had a little bit of a funny experience. Might have just been an off day for that very particular physio. Aside from that, we do actually have a physio appointment coming up for Freddie, just to check on his walking and stuff like that. Last time we saw our physio was nearly 5 weeks ago, and he'd only really just started walking then, and we did have a few concerns about just how he was moving his feet, one of his feet more than others, as he'd always had a little bit of an issue with like tippy toes and sort of walking a bit funny inward. But again, now I feel like I'm an expert, well, part expert in DDH. Everything I see with Freddie is now of concern to me. And since we've been on a holiday and I'm spending a lot more time with him, because generally he's at nursery full time and I don't see him walking all day, every day, I think he may have a little tiny bit of a limp. Not all the time at all, and it's generally just when he's like walking back and forward, I notice he just throw his leg out just a tiny little bit. So I have just spoken to our physio this morning ahead of our appointment early next week for him, and I think they're just going to refer him to the hospital just for, you know, reassurance that there is nothing else sort of going on with him. I think given the situation now with Max, we're just a little bit heightened, and I certainly am heightened, and I think our physio will, you know, be heightened, which I think is right. Part of me, and I think I've said this before, you know, part of me thinks that Freddie had a mild form of what Max has when he was younger, but because of corona it wasn't picked up, and it then only sort of came to the forefront when I'd flagged my concerns with his gross motor skills, like at like 9-10 months old. So yeah, so we'll just wait to see what happens with that. But yeah, aside from that, not much else going on. Just going to add to my list of things to speak to the hospital about when I go on Thursday, and then, you know, if anything else happens with Freddie in the meantime, then we'll just have to pick that up as we go. But yeah, keep you posted. Catch you later.